So you noted that at 20% of Black individuals face poverty and limitations in accessing IT courses and opportunities. Like you said, had access to this stuff early on, and it's not always the case. And it's, what's even more distressing to me is that you say, quote, 51% of Black adults lack the financial resources to apply for tech jobs. So, David, can you speak further to these roadblocks and where the shadow financial costs of applying for tech jobs are located that we might not be thinking of again? And also if there's ways to sort of break these financial barriers to application and employment barriers.
Yeah. So again, another thing that kind of makes people uncomfortable, right? But I always say, like, get comfortable being uncomfortable is, I think sometimes we look around and we assume that, like, well, everybody's got access to internet, right? Everybody's got access to a phone. Like, I got an iPhone 15, like whatever. That's a $1,200 phone, right? Mm-hmm. Now I've been in tech a long time. It's a very lucrative field, but like, it's not lost on me that $1,200, like, that's somebody's mortgage payment, right? That might be 2 or 3 mortgage payments for some people. Like, so like the costs for some of this stuff, like, we just don't think about it. We're so used to having access to internet and things like that or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't. And the bigger aspect that faces, like, Black communities is there is a lot of communities, close on the poverty line. So they don't have access to internet, right? Then it goes to their communities. They don't have, libraries or public places where they can go get, free access to get internet, things like that. Some of the school systems aren't really set up for that. So, I mean, this isn't just a one layer problem. There's a bunch of stuff in there, right? I don't take that lightly. There's a lot of things kind of to fix there. And so is there a silver bullet? No, there's a couple of different initiatives that have to be, put in place to fix some of these things. And so, do I think it's all on the tech companies to fix that? No, but, like, again, that's something you need to kind of take in consideration. But again, go out to where the people are, right? Yes. And do more, be more present in the communities, whether it's, high school events, HBCUs, right? There's HBCUs all across the country, right? Connecting with these kind of high school events, things like that. Do something, right? Instead of freaking spending, $90,000 at RSA for a booth, why don't you just go to a couple of high schools and, hey, how about we sponsor, freaking fast internet for the day? I don't know, bring some routers, whatever. Like, be creative again, be intentional about it to go do that, right? There's areas to go and do that, and then, but specifically, for the Black community, it's, one of the things two things, it's teaming with the local high schools and things to make sure that STEM is something that's taught. We've got to do a better job in the Black community of making sure that our kids are interested in it, right? Because that's another addition to the pipeline problem, is, like, we've got to get more people interested in it. And part of that is just having this discussion. Part of that is kind of helping from some of the tech companies to see and say what this looks like, right? Again, representation absolutely matters. I didn't really think about this until the last couple of years of, like, how important it is for all of us to see ourselves in something else we're trying to be, right? If I asked you right now, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, hey, Chris, you want to go be a, Formula One driver, and you're like, okay, but I don't see another Formula One driver that looks anything like, that I can relate to at all, right? Like, it kind of subconscious, you're like, okay, I don't know if I can do that. But, and the perfect example of this is, the 4-minute mile, right?
Yes.
For
I talk
years,
about that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was seemingly a physical impossibility for a long, long time.
Right. And then the amazing thing is, if you look at the numbers and stats, like, once it was broken, like, we started humans started breaking it, like, over and over again. Why? Because we knew it was possible.
Yeah.
Right. We knew it was. It is possible. So that means what? That means what? Right. Because before it was like, oh, it's physically impossible. Like, you will, like, they pretty much, like, the body would shut down. Like, you would die if you tried to do that.
Burst in the
flames. But then you look at
it,
go. So now it's like, when you're running and, like, your lungs are filled with air, you're like, well, I know I'm not going to die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I already know that it is possible. Yeah. So now your brain just starts working on, so I just have to find a way to go get it there and done. It's the same thing, right? Like, we've got to be able to see that, like, oh, this is a career path. These are things that I can do. Yeah. And now I can kind of start working towards it. So, it's a multi, I'm going to nerd on you guys, right? It's a multi-body problem, kind of like the 3-body problem, right? But it's not impossible to solve like the 3-body problem is. But it's one of those things that there's multiple things that have to to kind of take play. Like number one, like we need investment in STEM and I would say Black and brown communities, right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is those education systems are sometimes subpar, right? We need investment. And so again, this is where tech can get involved. These big tech companies get involved and help with some of that investment. From the community perspective, hey, don't be afraid of STEM, right? Get your kids, in the engineering and mathematics. And sometimes some of the parents, they don't push it because, they weren't great at engineering and mathematics. So it's like, how am I going to help them, right?
Yes, exactly.
But, get them involved. There's tons of free resources now. Yep. Like when you can get them available to, internet, MIT has open sourced a bunch of their courses, but even before that, you get to, Google's got a lot of free courses out there. So, and then just YouTube, man, this generation,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, man, like everything's available on YouTube, right? Like, so you can find people teaching these things on YouTube. And so there's effort there, but there's bigger things financially that we have to do to make sure that these communities kind of have the same access that we do. One of the things that I would, love to see is we have to start thinking about internet like utility, kind of like water. Like it needs to be a basic thing that everybody has access to. Like I love the city of Chattanooga, actually, in Tennessee, right? Like it is. Internet is provided by like water, like everything else, like it's a utility, right? And they've got set cost services that they deliver to make sure everybody in the city can have access to internet. I freaking love that, right?
Yeah, should not be hard, but you can literally count on a couple of hands the number of cities that, especially in this country, that have done that. I think if you go to Europe, you find a whole lot of examples of that. But and I don't understand why we're not yelling about that constantly, honestly, because that is such a barrier. I mean, and it is such a utility. That's exactly the right wording. Want more career advice? Well, click here to check out my full conversations on the Cyberwork podcast. Every week, I sit down with a cybersecurity practitioner to discuss how you can break into and move up the ladder in the cybersecurity industry. See you there.